Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
You know what? I'm still not over it. I'm still not over what happened in Game 7, and honestly, I don't think I ever will be. And if you're watching this video right now, chances are you're not over it either, because what we witnessed wasn't just a loss. It was a complete and total collapse of epic proportions, and at the center of it all was Jeff Hoffman standing on that mound, watching his season, his reputation, and possibly his future as this team's closer go up in flames. Let's cut straight to it. Jeff Hoffman had one job, one single job, in the biggest game of his career, possibly the biggest game in franchise history. Protect the lead, get 3 outs, send us to the World Series. And what did he do instead? He imploded. He absolutely imploded in a way that I've never seen a closer fall apart in a postseason game of this magnitude. We're talking about a guy who all season long was supposedly our rock, our anchor in the 9th inning, the guy we could trust when everything was on the line. Well, everything was on the line in Game 7, and he crumbled like a house of cards in a windstorm. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. You're going to tell me that closers blow saves, that it happens, that even the best have bad days, and you're right. But this wasn't just any bad day. This was Game 7 of the League Championship Series. This was the moment when legends are made, when players rise to the occasion and etch their names into baseball history forever. Instead, Jeff Hoffman's name is going to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. His name is going to be synonymous with choking, with failure, with the worst possible performance at the worst possible time. Let's break down what actually happened out there, because the details matter, and the details make this so much worse. Hoffman came into the game with a lead that should have been comfortable. The team had fought tooth and nail to get to this position. The offense had done their job. The starting pitching had given us a chance. All Hoffman had to do was close the door. But from the very first pitch, something felt off. You could see it in his body language, in the way he was missing his spots, in the lack of conviction behind every single throw. The command that had been there all season, gone. The confidence that a closer needs to have, nowhere to be found. And then came the walks, the inexcusable, absolutely maddening walks. You cannot walk batters in Game 7. You cannot put runners on base for free when the season is on the line. But that's exactly what Hoffman did. He walked batters like he was handing out Halloween candy. He put runners on base. He put himself in impossible situations. And then when he finally had to throw strikes, they got hit hard, really hard. The kind of contact that makes you wonder if he even belonged on that mound in the first place. Here's what really gets me, though. Here's what makes this so difficult to swallow. John Schneider stuck with him, even when it was clear that Hoffman didn't have it, even when every single person watching that game could see that he was struggling. Schneider left him out there. And I get it. You want to show faith in your closer. You want to trust the guy who got you there. But at some point, you have to make the tough decision. You have to pull him before the game gets completely out of hand. But that didn't happen. And by the time someone else finally got into the game, it was too late. The damage was done. The momentum had completely shifted. The Dodgers smelled blood in the water, and they went for the kill. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Should Jeff Hoffman still be the closer for this team? And I know this is going to be controversial. I know some of you are going to disagree with me, but my answer is absolutely not. Not after what we saw in Game 7. How can you possibly hand him the ball in the 9th inning of a close game next season and have any confidence whatsoever that he's going to get the job done? How can the players in that clubhouse trust him after watching him melt down on the biggest stage? How can the fans sit in those seats and not feel their stomachs drop every single time he comes jogging out of the bullpen in a save situation? The reality is that being a closer is as much mental as it is physical. You need to have ice water in your veins. You need to have the kind of mental toughness that allows you to forget about past failures and focus solely on the task at hand. And after what happened in Game 7, I just don't see how Hoffman can have that anymore. Every time he steps on that mound in a high-leverage situation, he's going to be thinking about that night. He's going to be hearing the crowd, seeing the walks, remembering the hits, reliving the nightmare over and over again. That kind of trauma doesn't just go away. That kind of failure doesn't just disappear because it's a new season. And let's be honest about something else. The organization has to make a change. They have to send a message that what happened in Game 7 is not acceptable, that there are consequences for that level of failure in that kind of moment. I'm not saying we need to cut Hoffman or trade him for nothing, but he cannot be the closer. Maybe he can be a setup man. Maybe he can pitch the 7th or 8th inning where the pressure isn't quite as intense. But the 9th inning, that belongs to someone else now. It has to. Some people are going to call this reactionary. They're going to say I'm overreacting to one bad game, that I'm being too harsh, that everyone deserves a second chance. But this wasn't just one bad game. This was the game. This was the game that mattered more than any other. This was the game where careers are defined, where legacies are built, where moments become eternal, and Hoffman failed. He didn't just fail, he failed spectacularly in a way that cost his team everything they had worked for all season long. I keep thinking about the players in that clubhouse who did their jobs. I keep thinking about the guys who came through in the clutch, who delivered when it mattered, who gave everything they had only to watch it all slip away because one guy couldn't execute. You know, that's what makes this so painful. That's what makes this so hard to accept. It wasn't like the whole team played poorly. It was one spectacular, catastrophic failure by one person at the worst possible time. So where do we go from here? What happens to Jeff Hoffman? What happens to this closer role? Those are the questions that the front office needs to answer this offseason. They need to figure out if they believe Hoffman can bounce back from this, if he has the mental fortitude to overcome this kind of failure. And if they have any doubts whatsoever, if there's even a small part of them that questions whether he can handle the pressure, then they need to make a change, because we cannot go through this again. We cannot put ourselves in a position where the season comes down to Jeff Hoffman in the 9th inning and we're all sitting there wondering if he's going to melt down again. The truth is painful, but it needs to be said. Jeff Hoffman should not be this team's closer anymore. What happened in Game 7 was unforgivable. It was the kind of failure that changes everything, that reshapes how we view a player, that makes us question whether someone has what it takes to succeed at the highest level. And based on what we saw, based on that complete and utter meltdown, the answer is clear. He doesn't have it, not when it matters most, not in Game 7. And if he doesn't have it, then when will he ever have it?